But one thing I gotta say with a classified Serpentor is he has to come with the Chariot.
Number 1, Serpentor. Serpentor is like one of the last major Cobra characters we're missing, and I can only hope that the reason why he's taking longer is because we're going to get the full Chariot with Serpentor in a vehicle set. To say I've been wanting this for years would be an understatement. Serpentor has finally arrived!
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome back to the G.I. Joe Classified Series video. Today we're taking a look at Serpentor and his air chariot, because this has been the top of my list, like the 2 times I made a list. I've really been wanting Serpentor with his chariot, and it finally exists, and it finally is here, and I don't even care if this video does well, because I'm just so excited to get this guy that I'm ready to do a video regardless of the viewership. But I hope you do watch this video all the way through because I have some surprises planned. And if you do enjoy it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe and the notification bell for future G.I. Joe videos, because we're coming up to my annual rundown video in the very near future. We're only a couple months out. And also, leave a comment down below and tell me anything I missed, because we're going to be going through this not at super speed. This may be a long one. I don't know. I'm going to probably gush about this. I've been wanting Serpentor and his air chariot since the line started. I'm so happy he's here. He's number 57 in the line. So it's been a bit of a wait, but they finally did it. They finally made it. This was released as a Hasbro PulseCon 2022 exclusive. So during PulseCon, they're like, hey, go pre-order these exclusives. And I was like, yeah. He went for $80. I think it was $79.99 US. Hasbro Pulse exclusive, so a little pricey, but I mean the box is gorgeous, and you'll get to see that on camera in a minute. I don't know if there's anything else I want to mention here. I love the love that Serpentor is getting for the 40th anniversary, because like IDW, right before they lost the G.I. Joe license, just put out this collection of the Serpentor story arc from Larry Hama's G.I. Joe comics, so there's a lot of Serpentor love at the moment. It's great. He is the over-the-top Cobra Emperor created from the DNA of past dictators and conquerors, because G.I. Joe is weird sometimes, and I love it. So I'm going to stop rambling. We're going to look at Serpentor and his air chariot. All right, so here we have Serpentor and his air chariot. Now he comes in this fancy box, not only because he's an exclusive, but because he's got a whole vehicle in here. I love the artwork of Serpentor on this outer flap. I love that we still have the stats on the side. So for example, these are the readout stats on every classified series packaging, and Serpentor is just basically like the master class in all of them. He's number 57 in the line, and on the back we have this cool mural that shows the story of Serpentor. So it's got some moments from the cartoon and the comics, specifically like him sitting in Abraham Lincoln's thing. That looks like it's from the cartoon. Some of these others are more general things, him overthrowing Cobra Commander. This one up here is interesting because it's him cauterizing a wound, which I know they mentioned this, that was kind of wild to put on toy packaging. But for me, I knew that was a reference to G.I. Joe number 50, where he went into battle for the first time, got shot, then cauterized the wound with the knife and wrapped up the bandage. And he was wearing sort of not his full attire, but just the cape and the helmet at the time. So that's kind of a really cool reference to put on the packaging, because it is part of the Serpentor story from the comic. The box is pretty big, all things considered. Here is a normal like classified series box. So you can see that they, if you were lining up your boxes, we'll just back the camera up. If you're lining up your boxes, it would sort of look in line, but it's really, we used to have this pattern of everything had these sidebars. It's starting to break up more, which is fine because the plastic-free packaging is different and all that. And I talked about that in a recent video about plastic-free packaging. Now, of course, you're probably wondering, how the heck do you get into this box? Well, it looks like the actual slipcover is taped down in 2 places. And then we should be able to slide this off. There we go. And then here we've got this double helixed Cobra logo. Looks like DNA strands, which is appropriate because he's made from DNA. There's the artwork on the back, this time without copyright information, which is great. And we're going to open this up, and boom, there he is. So it looks like we've got Serpentor here, looking really large, actually. That looks like a huge figure. So it isn't a plastic-free packaging, even though it kind of looks like it from the outside. There's definitely a plastic tray for Serpentor and his accessories. Okay, so let's let's pull this out here. Oh, is it taped? Oh, it's taped in here. That's very bizarre. There we go. Yeah, so there's tape on the inside for some reason that was restricting him from getting out of the box. There we go. Okay, so boom. But essentially you do need to assemble the Chariot, which is why the box isn't bigger. But there is the interior contents of Serpentor. He's got his little snake up here. There's definitely a lot of plastic in this packaging, so this was designed before the plastic-free initiative. So interestingly, part of his accessories are in these paper bags we're getting accustomed to with the plastic-free. And then that's basically just like the guns and stuff, and there's like a cardboard slip around the guns to keep them together. Interesting that these are here like this when the rest of it's in plastic trays. But yeah, I don't have any comments on it. I just wanted to show it. So here is Serpentor, and as I was taking him out of the box, I cut myself on the plastic. So I don't know, maybe Hasbro's got a point with this cardboard thing. Anyways, so just ignore the Band-Aid because that happened. But here we go. We've got Serpentor. So first of all, I want to talk about like the head sculpt and the details before we get into like the whole air chariot thing. Let's look at the actual figure. I think the head looks great. It's got an evocative look of Serpentor. It's not like he really has like a distinctive facial shape besides just, I am DNA smashed together. I am the emperor of all Cobra. Rah. You know, that's the kind of fun part about Serpentor. I love the gold paint that continues around the edge of the snake mouth and then down around his chin, because that just looks really good, especially with the fangs below his lips and the fangs above his eyes. It looks really, really nice. And you can see here that the actual, you know, cobra frill on the back of his head looks really good. The other details I really like is like, you know, the two snake heads on the chest with the snakes wrapping around to the torso. Love that detail. Same with the snake for the belt. He's very committed to the cobra thing. And then the actual cape, much like the Serpent Supreme Cobra Commander, Snake Supreme Cobra Commander, the one that was in the black, this has got a nice snake skin pattern on one side, but it's flat on the other. It is stitched along the edge, but it has not got a wire in it, though I have seen some people just kind of shove a wire through the stitching because there's enough room, especially at the end there. You can see you could just put a wire through if you want. I imagine there isn't a wire included because that was just cost. I love the sculpted details for the torso, the arms, the gold, the extra green. You know, I love the snake wrap look. I think it's one of the most iconic parts of Serpentor is the fact this guy is really committed to the snakes. And then his feet are painted gold as well. I do like the detail of having the fingertips painted gold, whereas the rest is green, and then also the snake heads on his hands. So he's basically just wearing so many snakes. It's really, really cool. And then the other cool part is his articulation's super duper stiff. I say cool part because if you, I don't know if you can see it on my finger, but I used enough pressure that it popped the edge of my cuticle and caused me to bleed. So this figure's caused me to bleed twice already. Good for a blood god. We'll talk about the head in a moment, because with this version of the snake frill, you can't do anything with it. But the shoulders move out. You can tell I'm using some force. They move in and out. They come down. You can do 360. I'm sure if you really wanted to remove the cape, you could just probably, oh God, it gets stuck in the joint a little bit. If you wanted to remove the cape, you probably could squeeze it out from under the shoulder joint. But this is a problem if you're trying to 360 this joint, is it can pull the cape in. So you kind of have to keep adjusting that, which is probably my only real complaint with the figure part of this. Outside of the stiffness, which is a general Hasbro thing. He's got the bicep swivel. He's got the elbows. The elbow double bends. They are using the inset pins, so you can't see the pin holes from the outside. So they are really, really stiff at first, but they start to work out and you can get them moving again. And then the wrist pivots in and out as well as rotates. It doesn't move so far out because of the snake head design, but it still pivots. Now the torso is interesting. Unlike the other Classified Series figures where it has a straight cut ab crunch, he's actually got a ball joint at the top of the torso and then the standard ball joint at the bottom of the torso. So you can actually get kind of, I don't know if it's more range. It looks cleaner than the, you know, just the straight cut ab joint. So I kind of like it a little bit more. Something I think they're still kind of tweaking. Hips, they move out, they drop down so they can kick forward. You know, the usual kind of stuff. The bicep swivels, the really stiff knees. He's got a double joint knee. Because of the design, it's not going to like kick his own butt or anything. But then he's got the boot swivel here. He's got the forward and back ankle and the left and right ankle. So pretty good articulation. I mean, it's kind of the standard stuff of the line. But like I said, the head's a little different because when we talk about the head, it's this one connected piece all the way down his back. And that's kind of a problem because if you want head movement, you can't do that. So if you pull this up like this, which you got to be careful not to tear the cape. But you can see there's a peg back there. You can see his horribly mutilated head. But essentially this is just to keep it looking clean if you want him looking forward. But it actually comes with a second frill, which goes in the back here, like that. And then a second headpiece, which clips in here. And this actually allows him to turn his head left and right. I remember when we were looking at the promo pictures of this, I was like, what's the difference besides, like, the overall shape is different, clearly. But, like, what's the point? And it's not just for a different look. It's because this one allows you to move his head around because it's disconnected. So if you want to have, like, the clean look, it's not going to obviously look as good like this because the head moves on its own. But I kind of prefer the articulation to having the clean look. I guess if I was going to have him on the Chariot and he's just looking straight ahead, this would be good. But this is probably better for people if they want him posed in more combat scenarios. So that's the purpose behind that. But of course, he does come with some other accessories. So I didn't point out during the details because it's just a giant gaping hole in his arm. But this is for his claw, which is nicely painted and sculpted. And you can just plug the claw straight in there. So you got the claw in its shorter form on the arm. But if you pop it off, you can replace it with the longer claw. What's weird is the longer claw was in a plastic tray, whereas this was in the plastic-free bag thing. But yeah, you can get kind of the longer claw for slashing action. So here we have a snake sword, which has this really cool like painted gem at the bottom, the snake head there, and the blade. What's also kind of funny is the gem is only on one side, which is kind of a neat little extra detail. It's not so mirrored. What's also really cool is the snake staff. So you can see it's really long. It gives it a nice length that you can actually hold it with two hands realistically. And the snake head on top is also looking pretty nice. It does rotate for some reason. Not entirely certain why, but it does rotate up there if you want it to have it facing in different directions. But it's pretty cool, and it works really well for Serpentor. He also comes with this cool snake. Really nice little, like, extra dude here. Just, it's one balled up snake. It's not posable like some other figure snakes, but it's a cool snake nonetheless. Now, this last accessory is directly from the G.I. Joe movie. It is the snake spear that he killed Duke with. I'm sorry, put Duke into a coma with. Look, Duke got a spear through the heart. Even in G.I. Joe cartoon logic, that means dead, right? Also, that was the intention, but Hasbro got scared after killing Optimus Prime and didn't go through with it. But it's kind of a neat accessory to tie into things. Though it makes me wonder if we'll get a more classic Duke in the future.
He's gone into a coma.
I gotta wonder if, like, Scarlet secretly is, like, a medical psychic, because I still don't know how she knew it was a coma just by holding Duke's head and going, oh, coma. So I mentioned that Serpentor looked a little big. Usually G.I. Joe classified figures are about the same size, but Serpentor is actually larger. Here he is, of course, next to guy he killed and guy he took job of. Kind of have trouble with Cobra Commander there. But, you know, you can see that he's significantly taller. Like, he's supposed to be this big, huge, muscular, evil-looking dude, and he definitely stands out on a lineup here, because usually they don't get much bigger than the average height. In fact, he's actually even larger than Sergeant Slaughter, who came out recently as well. And while Slaughter's a bit bigger, because, of course, you know, he's Sergeant Slaughter, he's going to be a little bit bigger than, like, Duke, he's still undersized compared to Serpentor. So Serpentor is probably the single largest figure in the line so far. So there's a little assembly required on the Air Chariot, but luckily they include an instruction sheet to tell you how to do it. I wish we had these for some Marvel Legends Build-A-Figures. So here's the Air Chariot, looking pretty spectacular. I love the gold color used because it's sort of similar to Serpentor. The color of plastic used is similar to the vintage style, without it, hopefully, being the gold plastic syndrome type plastic the original one was made out of. This definitely does feel sturdier. Like, it doesn't feel like that weaker plastic that had issues all those years ago. But I love the way the color is. It's very nice. And then I also love the gold up the spine of the Cobra neck here, which just looks really good too. In terms of the actual details, the guns here, are pretty nice on either side. I love the magazine clips as well. I've got the fins that don't rotate. They just kind of plug straight in, but that's fine. I don't see why they need to rotate. What's cool is you got like this Cobra logo with the king crown on it for Serpentor. And then you have all the little details that on the original toy would have been actual stickers, like the hydraulic, the panel removal. All these little stickers aren't stickers. They're tampographs. They tampographed all of those on here, which is really nice because that means that you don't have to put any stickers on this, which gives it a more collector quality feel than just vintage toy style. Same for the little details like the monitors and readouts here and there, the radar and all that. That is all painted in, which is really, really nice. You also can see here that the actual turbine does spin. You can see it better from the bottom if you turn it from the top. But the turbine does spin in there, which is really cool. It gives it kind of a extra realistic detail. There is landing gear for the air chariot, so you can get these popped out here. So if you don't want it kind of like looking floating, it actually kind of looks like that. And it honestly does look like it's floating above the ground. So even though it's supposed to be landing gear and it's designed as such, on a shelf, it's probably going to look like it's floating a bit, which is pretty cool. So what's cool here is you can open the mouth, and then inside is a little cannon. And this cannon can equip blast effects like the ones that come with the Cobra Vipers, but none of those are like small enough, but it is this little like minigun. The problem I have is that you open the mouth and it's there, and you can try to move it, but then the next position's all the way down. And then up here is some extra little details which are really hard to reach because they're these tiny little fangs. So I'm going to try to get in there with the sword. Can I even find what I'm looking for? There we go. So it's kind of tricky to pull them out, but you can have these little fangs and then the little gun as well. You can close the mouth with the fangs open, which is really cool. I kind of like the way it looks like that, but it's really easy to slip them back in if you don't want the fangs out. But I like that the fangs can stick out or they can be folded away. But I kind of like that as the look for the Cobra head on the air chariot. What's also cool with the guns is that they aren't really like pegged in super tight. So you can pull them out and they have handles on them. So if you want Serpentor to be like, say his air chariot crashed and he just like grabs and rips one of the guns off the turrets and you want him to hold it, totally an option. Hold on, I'm going to pose this better. Despite downing Serpentor's air chariot, he's not out of the fight yet. Serpentor grabs one of the guns off the chariot and goes to attack G.I. Joe. Will Cobra win this day, or will G.I. Joe stop them? Find out in the next episode. Sorry, I'm having a little too much fun with this, but I really like the visual of Serpentor just taking a gun off of his chariot and going to town. It's really kind of fun that the weapons on the vehicles for this, for the ram cycle, for the Cobra coil, also pop off and get used by the figures. I think that's just such a great detail, and I want to see that continue in future vehicles. Now, of course, you could be normal and have him on the air chariot looking all impressive. He does hold the handlebars quite well, but the nice part is that the foot pegs are strong enough, so if you want to have him doing anything else besides holding the two handlebars, you can totally do that. And he's pretty stable. Like, let's look, see there? He's pegged in, and, outside of his ankles adjusting, those pegs hold pretty good. So as long as he's balanced, he's going to stay on there even if he's not holding the handles, which is honestly really impressive because a lot of the times with vehicles, you're going to have the figure hold on to them or else they'll fall off. But with the air chariot, it's definitely going to stand up. As long as you don't tip it back, which is like the only issue, it's going to be good to go. And I have it on the actual landing gear at the moment. So it's solid. I'm really impressed. So I think the question that comes up for a lot of people with this is the price, right? Like this is $80 for all of this. Yes, this is 100% new mold for the vehicle, for the figure, for the weapons. Like everything here is brand new and likely won't get reused. So when comparing it to something like Breaker and the Ram Cycle, which was $40 like a year ago, which would be $45 now, as we've seen with the Tiger Force Duke, that's essentially the same accessory loadout. Breaker here only has a helmet, a head that's new, a new chest harness, but overall uses the same body as Duke. This weapon was reused with Roadblock. This bike's, of course, getting repainted into the Tiger Force version. So it's, it's also a lot smaller. If you can notice, I think this was the big comparison. It was like, well, figure with vehicle was $40 last year, and now it's $80. Well, this is a lot of reuse on Breaker. This bike's getting reused. This is all unique. So, you know what? I think I'm going to allow the $80 price on this because Serpentor being a brand new mold that's unique, in most cases, Serpentor's 100% unique. Sergeant Slaughter was not 100% unique, but he was running like 38. So it's just how some of the pricing has gone. Where like Slaughter here probably had to pay somewhat for the likeness as well. But Slaughter, he was 38. Serpentor, you know, if he's 40 and the Chariot's 40, I'm cool with the $80 price because of how amazing this is and how unique it is as well. So overall, the Serpentor and Air Chariot set is just what I'm really happy with because this is what I was looking for. I wanted Serpentor with his Chariot, and that's what I got. Plus, on top of that, we have a bunch of accessories like the 2 hood options for the back of the head, the extra big old snake he can hang out with, the snake staff, the thing that he killed Duke with, the extra claw, all these extra little details that I wasn't expecting or needing, but really appreciate because it gives him a lot of posing options, especially with how solid the Chariot is holding him without holding the handlebars. Overall, I think the figure is great, and I'm really happy with it, but I know for some, the $80 price point was a bit high. Now, the unfortunate part is that if you didn't get a pre-order at Hasbro Pulse, it may not be available afterwards. They are doing a second run that'll supposed to ship next summer, but outside of that, I don't know if he's going to be released beyond that. I would hope a retail version gets released that's more stripped down, maybe not including both hood options, maybe, you know, he'll have the claw and the staff and the sword, but maybe not the stake that he threw at Duke, and he, of course, won't have the Chariot. Maybe there'll be like a more retail version, at least I hope so, because I'm sure there's some people that may just want to buy a Serpentor without the Chariot. But for me, the set overall is worth it, and it seems to have sold incredibly well, so hopefully they do more production runs of it in the future, because honestly, it's one of the best things to come out of G.I. Joe Classified, and I'm incredibly happy with this figure. And considering I wanted it for, you know, like over 2 years now, it's definitely something that I was pulling for, and I'm not disappointed, which is very nice to feel because sometimes you wait for things for years and it doesn't live up to the expectations. But here, I'm pretty happy with Serpentor and his Air Chariot. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It helps the channel grow. Hit subscribe notification bell to keep up with future uploads on the channel. There is plenty more coming, especially that G.I. Joe 2022 rundown, which is going to be coming in January. Also, leave a comment down below and tell me which G.I. Joe Classified series figure you want to see next. Not one that's been announced, either by a name drop or a digital render, but like one they haven't announced at all yet. For me, I think my list has been pared down to Nemesis Enforcer. I think everybody else has been announced or shown. Also, be sure to check me out on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern, where I do a live stream for a couple hours, where you can come talk about different things. We talk about the toy industry and all kinds of other fun stuff there. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, or all three. If you have them, that's also a great way to reach out to me if you have any questions or comments. Also, be sure to check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for Hasbro toy news and more, and my awesome graphic designer on Twitter at darkclaw643. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, Cobra!